Hey, solos. So you want to, or you're considering going to Walt Disney World all by yourself this spring for the Flower and Garden Festival, and you are wondering whether or not it is worth making a trip this year for that very festival. Well, solo spoiler, the Flower and Garden Festival is such a wonderful entry into spring, and it could be a great year for you to go if you are into that. And we're going to talk all about it. Hi, everyone. It is Samantha. Olaf may not know who Samantha is, but now you do. And welcome to Disney Solo Magic, the #1 podcast for solo travel to Disney World. So in this episode, we're going to talk about whether or not you should go to the Flower and Garden Festival this year. I wasn't expecting to, but in a couple weeks, I will be there. In fact, I woke up one morning, opened up Instagram, saw that they had released some merchandise and some food and not all the menus, but just some photos. And I was like, damn you, Flower and Garden Festival, you get me every time. And then I just randomly checked the flights and I found round trip flights were the cheapest I have seen round trip flights to Orlando from Toronto since I started booking flights to Orlando in 2019. So without even rolling out of bed yet, I was like booked. So I'm going to the Flower and Garden Festival and I'm really, really excited. And so I thought I would do an episode just like I did for the Festival of the Arts about whether or not you should go to the Flower and Garden Festival this year. I have been lucky enough to be able to go to the Flower and Garden Festival for the last couple of years. And if you want to see some of those pictures or hear other episodes about the Flower and Garden Festival, then you can follow me on Instagram, Threads, and Facebook. And you'll be able to see those pictures. You can also listen to this on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube. And on YouTube, I was able to make a nice little playlist of all of the Flower and Garden themed episodes that I've done. So, and just kind of festival. So you can listen to some past episodes about other things that I say. I'm going to try not to repeat myself on this episode. It's always like a difficult balance. So go back to those other episodes as well. If you are interested in helping me plan my own Flower and Garden Festival menu, then you can become a Patreon member for $4 American, $5 Canadian, $5.50 maybe Canadian. And just like for the Festival of the Arts, you can go onto this little spreadsheet that I created and identify some things you want me to try. And I loved doing that during the Festival of the Arts. I had my little passport. I brought a little pen. It was really great. And I will definitely, because I know you really love that episode, I will definitely be recording everything while I'm there and giving you reviews on the food. And so yeah, please, if you want to participate in that, I really enjoyed the idea of that participation with all of you listening and the Patreon members in particular who helped craft my menu. So go and participate if you are into that. You can also become a trial member for a week if you just want to go and select some food and then leave. You can also stay. That'd be cool. I think I did all the stuff. Please rate, review, and subscribe. It's really great, especially when you write a review. That's really helpful. That helps the algorithm and that lets people know we're here. And please share. That's awesome as well. We are coming up to the anniversary of the podcast, and I have some great birthday-themed programming for you. I'm really, really excited, and I think it's a great way to go into our 3rd year. How exciting. All right, let's get into it. All right. So the Flower and Garden Festival, it's going to be the 31st annual Flower and Garden Festival this year. The Flower and Garden Festival is the oldest of all of the 4 festivals that Epcot has every year. Some people will say it is Food and Wine, and that is kind of true. So they started the Flower and Garden Festival 31 years ago, and it was a celebration of plants and horticulture and all of that stuff. And yes, the topiaries are always still out and all of that stuff, but the garden-focused programming is not as plentiful as it was when they first started the festival. And of course, it wasn't as long when they did it. They also ran a food and wine festival a few years later, where again, I think it was just one weekend, and they had like sommeliers and they had like little food, things like that, a small version of the big food booth that we know today. And that food and wine festival grew and grew and grew. And Disney realized that it was a great way to bring in people to Epcot on kind of like a continuous basis. And so they were able to bring the type of programming of food booths and music and scavenger hunts and all of that stuff to the Flower and Garden Festival as well. So even though the Flower and Garden Festival started first, the food festival that we know started with the Food and Wine Festival, and then I guess like a bee and pollination, which I'm not quite sure if that works, but if you think it works, thank you, and fill in the blanks if it doesn't work. Like a bee pollinating a flower. Oh, no, that does work. The the Food and Wine Festival's success made the Flower and Garden Festival what it is today, which is a spring-focused food festival as well, in which there are food booths and different programming activities throughout Epcot. Specifically, though, I like to always think, but maybe that's just my own brain. I was going to say specifically in World Showcase, but that's not even true. Around Epcot, that really, really focuses on flowers, gardens, spring, etc. I remember when I first started watching YouTube Disney videos around COVID, I had just gone to the Festival of the Arts in February 2020, and then COVID happened, and I was watching all of these YouTube videos, and I remember Molly, who was with All Ears at the time, now she's Mammoth Club, had said that the Flower and Garden Festival was her favorite festival, and I was just thinking, like, I don't know, like plants, I don't know, like the Festival of the Arts was just so cool and colorful. I don't know if plants could really make up for it. But you know what? She's right. There is something about Epcot during the Flower and Garden Festival that is so alive and buzzing and colorful. And it really it really just feels like everywhere you look, you are looking at Flower and Garden Festival stuff. Whereas with the other festivals, especially Food and Wine, actually, when you're looking around, it's like, oh, there's the festival stuff. But when you're there during Flower and Garden Festival, because they have this 30+ year history of cultivating these plants, these flowers, these different garden accents, there's just something alive, like literally alive at Epcot during the Flower and Garden Festival that is just so wonderful. And this isn't the first thing I need to say about whether or not you want to go there. One of the reasons why I get so much from the Flower and Garden Festival every year is because I live in a place with a real winter. Oh, first, Flower and Garden Festival is running from March the 4th to June the 1st. And a couple years ago, they had extended it all the way through the summer. And I love the fact that they really have now just focused on spring. I think the more tailored time frame works better for this festival. And so somebody who comes from a place with winter, like, gray, cold winter, and I'm not really like complaining about it because that's just how seasons work and that's totally okay. By March and April, I mean, I don't know about you if you live in a place where there is winter, but I am hoping every day when I wake up that it is going to be a beautiful spring day. And a lot of time it is just a fool's spring. We will get a gorgeous, gorgeous day when it's really just like, 16 degrees, like Canadian temperatures at Celsius. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, we're alive again. We don't need coats and all this stuff. And then the next day you have a cold because of course you need a coat. And that basically happens for 2 months. So when I go to the Flower and Garden Festival, it is like this dopamine hit, vitamin D hit, this hit of a promise of spring. And as I'm saying that, like my body is like reacting in just like joy. It is this wonderful hit of sunshine and flowers and spring. And I just find that the sun and the flowers and the gardens and the green and the color and all of that stuff as a solo going in the spring when I live in a place with cold is such a moment in time of rejuvenation, of this like personal rejuvenation, of kind of like this might sound corny, but like filling up your spirit from what got depleted in the winter. Because, and again, I'm not complaining about it. That's just how the cycles work, right? Things get like low in winter, and then they start growing again in the summer, and then the spring, and then it becomes more full bloom in the summer, and then they start dying off in the fall. Like that's just how seasons work in the Northern Hemisphere. And so oh my God, I'm getting very spiritual about this. And also, like, all due respect, if this feels a little sacrilegious, I do not mind it at all. I'm not intending that at all, but I understand why you might feel that way. Like Easter, so many holidays that we celebrate in the West that are Christian based are also very much aligned with seasonal things that are happening. So, for example, Easter, the resurrection of Jesus in the Christian Bible, is a very interesting story to be telling. And I don't mean story in a fictional way necessarily. So I'm not providing any judgment. It's a very interesting story to be telling when the spring is coming and everything is like literally awakening again. The same thing with Christmas, for example, like the North Star and this idea of like this bright light coming into the world. Well, again, it's an interesting coincidence that it is around the same time where there's all these other festivals and celebrations of the light coming back after the darkness of winter, right? With solstice being December 21st. So there is really something, oh, are we hopefully either you really dug everything I just said or you were like, "Oh, what am I listening to?" So there's something about this full indoctrination into spring. I can't believe that's the word that came out. This full indoctrination into spring that comes from when you go to the Flower and Garden Festival, if you've been in a northern climate. When you go to the Flower and Garden Festival, that really does just feel like filling up your spirit in a way that it's just like, like pumping up the air and tires, because I definitely think we need another analogy here. There's just something there that really, really can fill you up. Now, I say you up, and maybe it's not you. Maybe you're like, oh my God, I hate the spring so much. That's okay. And obviously move away from that. But I think that's why I really, really gravitate towards going to the Flower and Garden Festival every year solo, because I love being able to come back when it's still kind of gray and still kind of cold out and everyone really wants the spring, to look at these pictures in which I was able to wear a spring dress. I was able to eat food and drink some interesting drinks that had like flowers on it that were so bright. I was able to maybe pick up a souvenir that was garden themed that I'll be able to use in a couple months. Like there really is something for me there that just feels really interesting about communing with the spring. And also, the summer can be really busy. Like if you have kids, the kids are out of school, and so you're kind of packed. I don't have kids, but if you've been listening since last summer, for example, you know that last summer I was super super packed being an auntie. That was really really wonderful, but the summer, is very busy. So there's something about this spring of just like, oh my God, getting all this sunshine and seeing the flowers in the gardens that really kind of allows you to commune with the sun, allows you to get ready for this season. I just think that is really nice. Should you go to the Flower Garden Festival this year? Yeah, sure. If those things didn't offend you. I mean, I wasn't trying to be offensive. I know, obviously, if you're Christian, and anyway, I think we all understand that was not coming from a place of disrespect. So, should you go to the Flower and Garden Festival this year? If any of that resonated with you, then yes, it's a good thing to book. The other things that are happening is that there are always different garden exhibits, and there's going to be 4 new garden exhibits this year. One is going to be about pet-friendly gardens, which, if you are a pet parent like me, that might be extra interesting to know, like, how you can create gardens with plants that are good for your pet, and that aren't, dangerous or even poisonous for your pet. There's also going to be a new garden exhibit on different like wildlife, like bringing wildlife in, but also being accommodating to the wildlife that were ecologically there before all of us humans. So that could be really interesting as well. There's also going to be one on trendy tropicals, which I think will be fun if you had a climate that could handle some tropicals. And there's going to be a rain or shine water cycle exhibit, which I think will be really interesting, especially in relationship to the Moana water walkthrough, because that is really beautiful. And in Communicore Hall, they're going to do a exhibit in there of like a night and day garden with like different lighting and fireflies. And I was not impressed with their garden exhibit last year, but I am impressed with the idea of a more ambitious exhibit this year. So that's something to look forward to as well. There will be different garden exhibits that they always have, such as the community garden, such as the butterfly garden, and also, again, the space at Communicore Hall, identifying like how they develop the topiaries and things like that. There's also a couple gardens there that are kid friendly, but as a solo podcast, I do not need to talk about that. The other thing that they do during the Flower and Garden Festival that they don't do the rest of the year is that they do tours of the tea garden in the England Pavilion and World Showcase. So if you have ever been in that garden behind the Twinings tea caddy, you might notice that there are a lot of plants out there that you can make into teas. And they do run it's short, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, little tour where they'll give you a tour of the garden and then you get a little tea sample as a souvenir. Also, you can go during the rest of the year to see if they have the self-guided tour. And when you do that tour, you also get a little tea sample. So feel free to ask them about that. If you are interested in doing the tea garden tours, you do need to sign up. I think they're 2 or 3 a day. I've seen online people are like, go right away, go right away. And yeah, sometimes it can really fill up. So if that is a priority for you, go as soon as you can. But I have had I've had times where I'll stroll up and be like, oh, so there's a tour in 2 hours. Do you have any availability? And they're like, yeah, of course we do. And then I've been there where I've gotten there first thing in the morning and they're like, oh no, we're already sold out. Not sold out, but we're already booked up. So go check that. You can also just hover around at the time of the tour to see if there are any walk-up spots available, but that's always fun. Although I will say this as somebody who often will do historical educational tours that have a question that's more like a comment, but that the tour guides are really great. Disney cast members are really great. They follow a script. It's really great. It's informative. But if you ask questions outside that script, you will throw them off and look like you're being difficult. It's not like I know that from experience at all. So just know that it might not be the most, you won't be getting a tour with a PhD candidate in tea history, and that is totally okay. But I'm someone that does really like to ask questions, and I'm just trying to be like, oh, well, if you said this, does it also mean that? And I realized the last time I took the tour, oh, no, that's not what we're doing here, and that is totally okay. Samantha, don't be mean to people. Oh, I'm not mean to people. I'm not. It's just a family member that makes fun of me quite a lot for that very thing. So I'm kind of self-conscious. And that's why I go solo, because F them. You know what I mean? All right, another reason why you could go this year is they will often promote these new topiaries that they have. So, for example, a couple years ago, they promoted the Cocoa topiaries that were really cool. And then they did Encanto topiaries, and then they did a Guardians of the Galaxy topiary, and they like promote it. It's like this new thing, it's on feature and all of this stuff, and you're really, really excited. But then you can't go that year, and you're like, well, I guess I'll never see the Groot Guardians of the Galaxy topiary. But here's the thing. That's a lot of work to create a topiary. They don't go anywhere. So if you have been really interested in seeing those topiaries from the last few years or any of the years, you're going to see them this year too. All of those topiaries are going to be out, and they're always so cool and they're always so beautiful. And it might not be in like the featured location like it was the year previous, but you will still be able to see the Encanto topiaries and all of that stuff. So if you haven't been in a few years and you've wondered if you've missed seeing those like specially released topiaries, don't worry, you'll be able to see them this year. Another reason why I love going to the Flower and Garden Festival, and maybe you will want to as well, is that just like the Food and Wine Festival, they have a concert series. And the concert series is Garden Rocks. I have found that it's often like older musicians, but maybe that's just my own bias. But musicians that may have been more popular in like the 70s or 80s, and they aren't, in my experience, they aren't quite as busy or popular as the Food and Wine Festival concerts, and I have loved going. I've seen the Spinners a couple times. I've talked about that so many times, and they're going to be back this year, although I won't be able to go because first, it's the long weekend in Canada, and so therefore the flights are really expensive, and it's also my goddaughter's first birthday, so I have to go to that. Not have to. I will be going to that, and it's a cowboy-themed birthday party, and I'm really excited because I have a cowboy-themed Disney dress that I got for a trip a couple years ago when I was staying at the cabins at Fort Wilderness, and I'm really excited to be able to wear that dress again. So I'll be thinking of Disney, even though I will not be there to see the Spinners. Simple Plan is playing. Obviously, they're not an older band. I mean, not like the Spinners. But I know a lot of people are really excited about them, seeing them. Not me, but you might be really interested in them. The Pointer Sisters I've seen in the past, they are not playing this year, which I'm really bummed about. I know there's a friend of the podcast who's a really big Pointer Sisters fan, and I was hoping that we would be able to cross paths and see that together this year, but no. Another performer that's playing at the Flower and Garden Festival this year is Chubby Checker. Like, let's twist again like we did last summer, or just like doing the twist, that Chubby Checker from the 1950s. So I have not seen him on the Garden Rocks concert schedule since I've been looking the last 6 years. So it doesn't say he's new. I know that he's done it in the past, but he is fairly new in the last, 6-10 years or whatever. Okay, but here's the thing, solos. So Chubby Checker is like an old guy now, right? Like he's 80. Let me actually just like look that up really quickly. He's 84. he was born in 1941. I saw Chubby Checker with a friend of mine about 10 years ago at a Toronto thing, at the CNE, for those of you in Toronto who know. And we were, as the kids say, our flabbers were gasted because it is this old man, and it is clearly the same performance he's done since the 80s or the 90s, which is a change, but not by much, experience of the concert he would have done in the 70s, which is a change from the concert he would have done in the 60s and in the 50s. But it definitely hasn't changed too much from the 90s. Like, his pants were so tight. His jokes and his banter felt... with all due respect, a little predatory, that like would have been cool if you were watching in 1987 and you were 40, but in like 2015 you're like, what is this old man doing? Not to like, anyway, it was an experience. it was an experience. I cannot believe that he is still performing. So if you want to see an old man in very tight pants sing music from the 1950s and 60s and point to women on the audience and make comments about their twisting, then yeah, you're gonna love that concert. Look, if I was there at that time, I would definitely go. So anyway, you want to go see an 84-year-old in tight pants do the twist, you can see it at Garden Rocks this year. Like every year, the Flower and Garden Festival and all of the food festivals will have like a scavenger hunt. If you want to buy one of the scavenger hunt maps and you go and you look for the little bee everywhere. And this is the first scavenger hunt that I ever did, the one from Flower and Garden. And it was really cool because when you're looking for the bee, as opposed to when you're looking for Figment or you're looking for Remy, when you're looking for the bee, they want you to look at particular gardens. So like a garden that is spice themed or a garden that shows how Japanese farmers created water distractions for wildlife. And so there's something about the scavenger hunt for the Flower and Garden Festival that really allows you to engage with the education of the gardens even more. And I really, really love that. If you also love scavenger hunts, then you might be interested in going around Easter time because they also do one at Easter that is less educational, but there's also like, a little prize that you can get and all that stuff. And then, of course, the thing that most people will go for during the Flower and Garden Festival, all of the different foods. And, I've said this so many times on the podcast that like the Food and Wine Festival is food and wine, but they had to do something different with the Flower and Garden Festival and the Festival of the Arts to make all these small foods really make sense for this different festival. So all of the foods for the Flower and Garden Festival are so colorful and often tied with like fresh fruits and vegetables or florals. And they also have like a lot of non-alcoholic beverage options, which I always really love, but they're like different combinations of like lemonade or guava or this or that. There is this one grapefruit slush that's around the pavilion where they often will do like Colombian food. That's just like my favorite thing in the world. So yeah, there is a real brightness to the foods. And again, if you've been eating like, you know, just stews and fast food and like root vegetables all winter because it's winter, then all of a sudden having these options for this, avocado toast with different colors of tomatoes and florals on it, or a little piece of fish, like it's just really wonderful. So I always really, really love the foods at Flower and Garden. I've always tried to think like which festival's foods do I like the most between Festival of the Arts and Flower and Garden, because I find the Food and Wine Festival foods too heavy, and then the Christmas foods at the International Festival of the Holidays are like, Christmas holiday foods. You can't compare that with like these innovative dishes in the spring or kind of art-filled dishes like the Christmas holiday profile flavors. They live on their own. And to be honest, I really can't ever figure out which of the two festivals, Festival of the Arts or Flower and Garden Festival, which food I enjoy more. There are things that I love about both of the festivals, but when I think of the food at Flower and Garden, I just think of these bright, interesting foods, and I just really love that. So if you're wondering if you should go to the Flower and Garden Festival this year, then the food is always a good reason. Now, should you go to the Flower and Garden Festival this year? Here are some reasons why you might not want to go. One, I talked about the sun and all of that stuff. Well, sometimes because my body is not ready for the sun, I feel like I look like a cartoon turkey when it's like about to go into the oven in some sort of cartoon and it's like white. And, the skin is like glistening because it's cold. It's just cold, dead turkey skin. And it's about to go into the oven, and then the oven like breaks. And so they take it out and the turkey in the animation is like bright red and maybe like has sunglasses because it got sunburned rather than. So sometimes I feel like that. Like I will get out in the sun. I know I said all those wonderful things, but I'll get out in the sun and I'm like, ooh, my body, my skin has not seen this much sun in months. And almost every trip, although I have learned, but almost every trip, I will have to buy a hat or or sunscreen and or a parasol in order to protect my delicate white skin because it's just feels like it is going to burn so quickly. And yes, in the summer I get hot and I need to like get all those things too, but I'm prepared. My skin is prepared, my brain is prepared. And so sometimes I will feel very heat stroke like at the Flower and Garden Festival because I was not prepared for that sun, even though I've gone for the sun. But like it's a bit too like trial by fire, if you will. And I don't know if I said this on the podcast, but I know I had said this to a family member when I was doing the Festival of the Arts trip, is that I really enjoyed that one day of doing the Festival of the Arts because the sun wasn't so bright that I didn't feel like I was battling the sun. And when I think about the Flower and Garden Festival, sometimes I do feel like I am battling some sun. So I just need to be prepared. And if you are also interested in going to the Flower and Garden Festival because of the sun, then you need to be prepared. But it could also be a reason why you're like, ooh, I don't know. I don't think that's the right thing for me. And that's totally cool. Another reason why you might not want to go to the Flower and Garden Festival is that the spring is a busy time of year at Disney World. There is March break, there is spring break, there is Easter, there's Mother's Day, there's the May long weekend, there are cheer and dance competitions, there's baseball, there's soccer. And like sometimes you'll get there and it's just packed. And there's also the new Run Disney event, the Springtime Surprise. That's happening actually right after I leave. So I have been really lucky in going in times where I've never, like, I don't think of the Flower and Garden Festival as super busy, but I just, for some reason, I'm not even planning this, am able to go differently than the rest of the crowds, but you might not have that option. Like if you're a teacher, for example, and March break is when you can go. So maybe you don't want to go to the Flower and Garden Festival because you just know it's going to be busy. And also I posted this on Instagram. I'll post it on Patreon though. Again, it's just a more stable place to put things for both paid and free members. Is that people are always like, oh, the cheerleaders, oh, all that stuff. Number one, don't, okay, this is actually separate, but like, let's just like be nice to female athletes. I feel like there's a way that we collectively will always be like, oh, the cheerleaders that, yeah, maybe they're more, and there's a different energy level than when there are sports teams that are primarily like boy teams. But there's also something that we do that like kind of polices girls' behavior. So just, I don't know, I mean, these are athletes too, right? And this is a special trip for them. But if you want to avoid them, then you can actually find out when they're going to be big cheerleading competitions, big baseball or soccer tournaments or things like that. And you can go on the ESPN, the Wide World of ESPN website and just see when the events are, when they're booked. And if you really want to avoid all the cheerleaders, all the baseball players, all the soccer players, then don't book on those weekends, those weeks that they're going to be there, and that will help quite a bit. I've never used that necessarily to plan my vacations. Again, I'm like, well, if I can go, I'm going to go. But it is a useful tool if you wanted to explore it. And if you also need another reason why you might not want to go to the Flower and Garden Festival this year, from what I've seen with the menus that they have promoted and even the exhibits that they are representing or the topiaries that are going out this year, I haven't seen a lot of new stuff. And I'm okay with that. But if you're like, I don't know if I should go this year or maybe I should like plan and wait and go next year, then I don't think there's any particular rush this year. Although Chubby Checker might be dead because he'll be 85 by then. I don't think there's any particular rush. I think that if you wanted to go this year, it's because the Flower and Garden Festival is wonderful. But if you were on the fence about this year or next year, I think that you could wait until next year and not really feel like you've missed anything core, anything really special or new or innovative this year. Like, yes, there are some new items on the menu and all of that stuff. And like, who doesn't want a Minnie Mouse macaron that is lemon themed, all that stuff. But they also, they'll also have cute things next year if they don't have that again, and also you might get there and the macaron will look very different than what you've seen with their, beautiful photography. So again, if you're on the fence about this year or next year, I don't think you need to rush this year. I think you probably will get a lot of the same programming next year as well. So, solos. Should you go to the Flower and Garden Festival this year? Well, if you want a hit of like rejuvenating sunshine on your body and in your soul, and you want to eat some food that is colorful and bright and fresh and based in like fruits and vegetables and flowers and all of that stuff, and you have time, maybe even be flexible so you can cross-check between other things happening at Disney during that time, and if you want to avoid the things that might be too busy, then yeah, definitely. I always really, really enjoy that festival. And I've been there Easter. I flew in Easter Sunday once, actually, and the plane was empty, and we even got chocolate bunnies. And then I got to my hotel and I put on my special like Easter outfit with like a special fascinator and went to Magic Kingdom and watched the Easter parade, which was a little bit of a letdown actually. And then went back to my hotel and slept. And the next day did the Flower and Garden Festival, and it was great. And I didn't feel like it was super busy. So again, don't necessarily like think it's going to be always so busy. I don't know. It could. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. March, April, and May are busy times. But if you really feel compelled to go, don't let the threat of the busyness get in the way of you having a wonderful solo time, because you can just bring sunscreen and a hat and maybe a parasol and maybe a fan and drink a lot of water, because you could also be like an unbasted turkey getting a sunburn. Okay. I hope that you help me have a really great time at the Flower and Garden Festival by becoming a Patreon member, recommending things I should try. Again, that was really, really fun. And when I get back from that trip, I'm going in the middle of April, so that last week of April, I'll post my Flower and Garden Festival walkthrough and review of the different foods and things like that. And then you can listen to it and decide things that you want to eat if you're able to go. So yeah. All right. So until next time. Bye. Hey Solos, it's Samantha. I hope you like this episode and all the episodes of Disney Solo Magic, the #1 podcast for solo travel to Disney World. This 2026, consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon member. Your Patreon membership helps offset the cost of running the podcast, but also creates a little fund for me to try new things when I'm at Disney Solo and tell you all about them when I get back. Patreon members get a reflection after every episode, and that is like a mini episode in and of itself, where I give you some behind the scenes stuff that I don't want on the public feed. Thank you again for listening. Please make sure you also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. Please make sure you subscribe, like, review, share on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.